I'm gonna have to ask you to leave, miss.
And I'm gonna have to refuse. Where can we talk?
Ladies ain't allowed.
I'm not a lady. I'm a doctor.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Not a Lady, Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman podcast. This is Kelly.
And I'm Sarah.
And this is actually episode 0 of our podcast, the very first one.
The first one.
Yes. So
we're doing this.
Yep, we are. We're very excited, actually. And you actually originally thought of this idea about a month ago. So It has not been that long.
It hasn't. It is a spontaneous jump into the podcasting world, and why not start a brand new podcast with a show that ended it didn't end, a show that began 27 years ago.
Seriously, why not?
Which we should just throw out there. 27 years is longer than one of us has been alive.
And that one would be me.
That would be you.
Although Sarah was young. She wasn't that old.
We are sisters.
We are.
So that is an important thing to note.
About the dynamic of this podcast.
Basically, if we insult each other, we still love each other because we have to. Because we share blood.
Yes. But it's kind of fun because we're 5 years apart.
We are.
So we've kind of, always been in different stages of life, and I feel like we kind of still are. And because of that, I will say we're different, and there's not a lot of things we have in common. So it's funny that we both love Dr. Quinn so much, and why I think this podcast is going to be really fun just for our relationship is because we both do have love for Dr. Quinn, and there's not a lot of things we have in common at this point.
Yeah, 5 years might not seem like a lot to some people, but I think in sister years, it's actually, it's a lot, right? I think you saying, like, growing up in different stages of life, I think that's a really good way of kind of just looking into our relationship, because we've never gone to school together. We've always been in different, like, you were in middle school, I was in high school. You were in high school, I was in university. Like, that kind of dynamic. And now, we can just jump right in with introducing ourselves now. I studied English in university, and I actually have been a teacher for the past 6 years. I've worked both in the U.S. as well as internationally. So we haven't lived together in many years, and actually even right now, we are living in two totally different states. Though in this moment, we are actually in the same room together.
We're in the same room.
But that will not be for probably the majority of the podcast, because you are...
I am actually in medical school to become a physician assistant. So I'm normally in school, but I'm on a much needed break right now, which is awesome. So we are able to be together, but I actually did study biology and French at university, finished a few years ago, and like I said, I'm in school right now. So that's we come from different backgrounds, but that's also why we're kind of doing this podcast, because we both have different perspectives and knowledge to add to kind of analyzing Dr. Quinn as a whole.
I think I'm way more of a history buff than you.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's going to be a big thing for my contribution, as well as being an English major. I am 100 times more analytical than you, and like to pull things apart and dig deep into things like plot and writing. I'm a writer, and character development and story arcs, all that kind of thing.
Which normally, I just have to say, normally this is why we have issues, because we'll go to watch a movie or something, and Sarah's thinking very deep into the plot and the character, and she gets very excited about the stuff she really cares about, and she analyzes. And normally I'm like, let's just watch the movie for the movie. So actually, I will say in this kind of setup, it works very well for you.
Now you're gonna, like, you're forced to listen to all my opinions.
Yes. No, well, basically. And so is everyone else, by the way.
Except they're choosing to be here. You kind of, like, got stuck with
Yeah.
this.
No, I volunteered. And I think in the same way that you have stuff to add, well, I am in no, like, disclaimer right now, in no way, shape, or form am I a practicing physician or a physician assistant. I am in school, and I do hope to be practicing one day after I graduate. And so I do have a lot of knowledge from being in school. And before this, I actually worked in a level 1 trauma department as a trauma tech, so have a lot of, clinical experience as well to add. So yeah, I mean, I just want to say, like, I don't know everything. Sarah definitely doesn't know everything when it comes to history, medicine, or whatever, but I think it'll be fun to apply what we do know to a show that obviously is supposed to be set in the late 1800s, since a lot has changed.
I'm really excited just to ask you all the medical questions I've ever had in a like comfortable zone and be like, tell me about this because I know nothing.
Yeah. And I feel like most people are probably like, why are these young girls picking this show that's like hasn't been around for a while, to do a podcast on? But I think you say it well because we kind of have different experiences with listening to the show. For you, it's more nostalgic because...
Yeah, I grew up, I was about 5 when I have memories of watching Dr. Quinn with our parents, actually in France, because at the time we were living in France and Kelly would end up being born there. And it was like our after dinner routine. We would have dinner and then we would go watch Dr. Quinn on the French television, which is so funny to me too. So yeah, I feel like both of our loves for Dr. Quinn we really owe a lot to our mother, who's
For
like
sure.
a super fan of the show as a whole and probably could talk us both beyond our capacity about the show. Maybe not about like the medical or the historical or analytical or whatever, but like she knows this show in ways that I'm like, how do you remember that?
She knows, like, we could say something and then she'd be like, oh, that's the episode where this happened. I'm like, what the?
Yeah. Where how do you remember that? It's been so long. And she's older than us too, right?
Obviously.
I mean, our mother... I mean, you know what I mean. Yes, our mother is older than us, but like, I guess I shouldn't talk about this.
You should probably stop.
I'm insulting mom's memory. But basically, she's had 4 children, so she's had plenty of distractions, but she
loves the show.
Really loves the show.
And Sarah, my sister Sarah, I don't know why I said it like that.
Tell them.
You bought, I don't remember what year it was, you bought Mom the full DVD set for Christmas or her birthday or something?
It was Christmas.
And so that's how I kind of remember watching it, is we would start to watch it and watch it through, and then I realized I love this show, and still to this day, the show is my favorite show. So we've both loved it for a very long time, and like I said, it's something that we have in common, and so it seemed like a great time to start this.
I think I never really thought about why we both like it, but I think it does hit kind of in both our sweet spots for like the history and storytelling, but then also like medicine, and I mean, it's timeless. Like Jane Seymour herself, timeless and
seriously. How old? She's like 60 something.
Unchanging.
Yeah, for sure.
So our plan definitely for the podcast, I think we've alluded to it. We both have kind of obviously our own differing opinions and perspectives to bring through. We're going to go through scene by scene, episode by episode, and kind of just dig deep into story, cinematography, character, script writing, history, medicine, all that fun stuff. But I definitely think we should also say it is from a place of total love for this show. Even in the moments where we might like analyze things and be like, oh, they could have done this better, or we recognize there's no perfect show. And at the end of the day, even if we find flaws, we want it to be from a very positive, respectful, just really, and total appreciation of this show that's been a big part of both our lives and now an exciting way for us to get to interact and spend time together even though we don't live anywhere near each other.
And I think too, like, there's something to be said for when you watch something as a kid and then you watch it later, things that just come up that you're like, how did I miss that before? Or just mean a different way, especially when you're actually trying to analyze it or think through it. And I think the reality is, I've thought about this a lot. There's a lot of like medical shows that it's just, there are certain things that are not realistic or just not accurate. And I'm sure the same goes for Dr. Quinn, but there's something about when you love a show, when you recognize those things, it doesn't like ruin it for you. So we're excited to look at it from that perspective for sure. If you want to know more about our podcast, actually, we have an awesome website that my sister Sarah set up.
Yeah, I hope that you'll check out our website. It is www.notaladypodcast, no spaces, .weebly, weebly.com. And on the website, you'll find more information about us, more information about the podcast. You will find links to our Twitter and our Instagram, Not a Lady Podcast. There's an email address if you want to reach out to us to share the love for Dr. Quinn. Also, I have made a page on there, which I think is very important to mention in this episode 0, which is, where do I watch Dr. Quinn? Because this show is, it's been 27 years since the pilot episode. There actually are not a lot of places to watch it.
Like, obviously, I think a lot of people see reruns on TV, whether it's Hallmark or MeTV, they play a lot of reruns. But if you're trying to watch it consecutively, like we are, Sarah's right, there's only, certain resources to do that. I do know that the first season is on Amazon Prime, and depending on where you live, there may be more seasons available. I know in the States, I think it's just season 1. But also...
At least at the time when we're recording this.
Correct. Also, obviously you could do what we did, which was bought the entire DVD set with all 6 seasons, and that's available at Barnes & Nobles, Amazon, eBay. I'm sure anywhere online that you wanted to find it at this point in time, it would be available.
And I would say, we're not sponsored or anything, but I think that the DVD, the full set, is totally worth it to buy. But if you're looking for streaming services, like Kelly said, Amazon Prime definitely has season 1 at the time we're recording this, August 2020. There is also another streaming service that I'm actually not very familiar with, but it's called Philo, and according to the website, Philo has all the seasons available for streaming, so you just purchase a subscription and you could watch it online. I don't know much about it as a streaming service, but based on research, it is there if you're interested.
Yeah.
And if you're not really wanting to maybe watch with us, if you're like our mom and you just like remember every episode and want to just go through it with us scene by scene, you're more than welcome to do that. And we're going to really be intentional about capturing the fullness of the story and just really bringing it to life in a new way for us, as well as we hope a new way, a fun way for you.
For sure. So I hope you can tell that we're really looking forward to starting this podcast.
Definitely.
And we're excited for you guys as listeners to tune in with us. We really want you guys to be able to participate, because we can't do this without listeners. There are more opinions than just ours. So we do have some ways you guys can participate.
If you go to the website, as I said earlier, you'll find links to, we have an Instagram and a Twitter, and we would love to hear from you. Whether it's you responding to the show Dr. Quinn, whether it's you responding to things we talk about or discuss on the podcast.
Or whether you just want to appreciate Jolanda with me, because I will always support that.
Exactly. We're really hoping that this can become a community of ideas and discussions and perspectives, and really just appreciating all the cool things that Dr. Quinn does.
And that goes for those of you which are longtime beloved viewers of Dr. Quinn, and maybe those of you that are pretty new to the show. We are looking forward to all of you guys being able to watch along and listen with us.
And we hope that there are new people.
Yeah.
So those of you who are longtime listeners,
recruit your friends.
Yeah, like tell your friends about it, and then be like, listen to this podcast. Watch it and listen to the podcast, because it's going to be fun.
It is.
So we hope you guys can join us on this journey as we learn and watch and talk and travel into the new frontier with Dr. Mike.
Thank you guys for listening, and hopefully we will see you guys in episode 1.
Which is the pilot episode.
Which obviously is going to be a little bit longer, because the actual episode is kind of like a double, and there's a lot that happens, so there's going to be a lot for us to go through, but hopefully you guys will check that out and take a listen.
And let us know if you listen by, as mentioned a couple times, checking out the website. We have Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff.
Basically, just hit us up.
On that note, we will see you in episode 1, both episode 1, the pilot episode of Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, as well as our episode 1 of Not a Lady,
a Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Woohoo!